Hey, New Patient Group Nation, welcome inside the broadcast booth. Brian right here, and welcome to Season 3, Episode number 11. Going to be talking about the consumer attention span. Obviously, that is dropping rapidly for all kinds of reasons that are obvious and not obvious. We're going to be talking about that today. We're also going to be talking about how that causes lost opportunities from a treatment acceptance, case acceptance standpoint at your practice. Also, we're going to be talking about how to use it to your unique advantage to increase your same-day starts, case acceptance, cash flow, etc. There's some very specific things that I want to talk about today because I think there's a big misconception. There's a lot of people out there that teach, well, you're going to take it from an hour to 30 minutes and all of a sudden that's going to transform your acceptance. It could not be further from the truth. There are very specific things that you need to take into consideration when doing it. Otherwise, it will hurt your case acceptance. The other piece is, and this is why whoever you trust with your business baby, right? Because as an entrepreneur, your business is one of your babies, one of your kids. Whoever you trust, you better darn well know that they know how to customize their beliefs into the business model you're trying to portray and create to grow. What I mean by that, we're going to talk about it today, is that there are certain areas in this country, certain demographics, where the 30-minute new patient consult works brilliantly. And if they moved it to an hour, they would fail in today's competitive marketplace with a short attention span. The other one, though, is there are demographics and practices in areas in this country where if you took your consult from an hour and you tried to get it to 30 or 40 minutes, your treatment acceptance would be crushed. It's actually reversed. So today I'm going to be speaking to both business models out there, why they're different, how you can customize these beliefs to make them both work depending on what your model is. But there are very unique things you need to understand that when you try to shrink the consult, you must take into consideration the things that I'm going to be talking about today, okay? Looking forward to a great one. Hope you're doing great out there. Before we get started, let's fire up the music.
Welcome to the New Patient Group Podcast, where doctors, office managers, and other healthcare professionals learn how to thrive in today's competitive marketplace by mastering the business, consumer, and marketing aspects of the practice. If you want to make more money, dominate the competition, while working, spending, and stressing less, this podcast is for you. Now, your host. He is the leading authority in the new era of practice growth, founder and CEO of New Patient Group, managing partner of Right Chat, speaker and consultant for Align Technology, the makers of Invisalign, author for the Benson Koppel Resource, international motivational speaker, business and life coach, Brian Wright.
Hey everybody, welcome in. Hope you're doing good out there. Good one for you today. I posted on LinkedIn not too long ago this study that Microsoft did that actually shows, and I had a couple people, I did an event the other day for Invisalign, had a couple people send me private messages that they thought I was kidding. They thought I was talking about a goldfish cracker, one that you would eat, that my kids are obsessed with. And it's actually not the case. The study that I'm about to tell you, if you haven't heard it, is an actual literal goldfish, all right? Microsoft, in their study, they talked about now how the human attention span is literally a second shorter than a goldfish, a real one. So I want you to sit there and ponder that for a second, that, it kind of makes me think that the human species maybe not as bright as a goldfish swimming around in your kid's little toilet bowl there. But the point is going back, so we talk so much on this podcast, avid listeners, that we talk so much about, statistics and basing your decisions off of data, even if you maybe disagree with the data, meaning that maybe you feel a different way. How you feel about things just simply does not matter. I always say, I love this. I love the saying that facts do not care about your feelings. Like, you can't manipulate facts in order to make yourself feel better. I wish people in their personal life, how they lived it and voted and things like that, I wish that they would base it off of actual data as opposed to how they feel. I think we'd be in a much better place as a country. But anyway, the point with this study is the reality of the situation is we're dealing with very difficult, different times because the consumer is so bombarded with information overload. The study that I like to talk about a lot is the Forbes study that says the average person sees more than 10,000 marketing messages on any given day. So you sit there and you go, okay, we have a consumer attention span that's less than a goldfish. Less than 8 seconds is what the consumer attention span is, right? You've got that scenario. Then you've got the consumer, and one of the reasons why our attention span is so low is we are hit with just a million messages per second. We walk around with our computers in our hand. Always funny when people talk about phones. We don't have phones anymore. Those phones have been gone for a long, long time. What we have are computers that we hold in our hand and we walk around with that also happen to ring. All right. It's a computer that rings. It's not a phone that happens to be a computer. It's the other way around. So we're so inclined to type and click apps and just be on Google 24/7, right? So we're getting hit with this message. And by the way, for those of you listening to the podcast, if you want to go out and check it on our YouTube station, remember, just an FYI, starting a few episodes ago, we're starting to video these from the podcast studio, video production room, that we do a lot of our on-demand content with MPG University. So you can go watch it on YouTube as well. Just remember, please, to, when you're there, if you haven't, subscribe to our YouTube station and click like on the video, because that helps us better. We get better rankings whenever that happens. No different for your business. When you're talking to your patients, this today is not about YouTube, but it is about growing your business. So whenever you talk to your patients, you can ask them, or you should ask them, to please watch the whole video and then also click like at the end of the video. And that will help you promote it and gain rank and viewers and things like that. Ask them to subscribe and things like that. Again, if you're not asking, then you're losing opportunities. It's the power of a question, right? We've done a podcast about that in the past on just by asking for things, you're more likely to get them, right? As simple as a same-day start. By asking for the money today, you're more likely to get it than as opposed to not asking and just letting them walk and think about it. So anyway, back to the point that we're talking about today, the short consumer attention span. Here's how I view this, is whenever I see, the changing landscape of the healthcare world that we talk about, the better clinician being defeated by the better CEO, competition, the list is endless, technology, DSOs, corporations, things like that. I always view those as positives. Most people, and I think that with our new patient group clientele, shout out to you out there, the new patient group family, one of the traits that they all have, that you all have as a new patient group client, is you look at things very differently than how the rest of the industry does. Most of the new patient group clientele view all of the changes going on in healthcare as a positive thing. And, I teach that right now is the best time ever to own a business, any business, because the changes that are happening inside of healthcare, they're happening outside of healthcare as well. There's no difference. There's obviously subtle differences, but the philosophy and the foundational changes are happening to everybody with commoditization, competition, technology, things go on and on. So what you have to do is you have to look at all these changes, and the change we're talking about today about the short consumer attention span, you have to look at them and go, all right, how do I take that and how do I turn it into a positive for my business? That's where it starts. Without that mindset, inevitably you're going to fail at some point in your career. Whether it be today or tomorrow, if you have the mindset that every single time a change happens, a shopper comes into your practice, another practice opens up down the street, whatever it might be, you have to, from CEO to CEO, entrepreneur to entrepreneur, you have to look at those as a potential growth opportunity for you and your team, because most don't. So if you have the mindset that as these changes happen, you're already ahead of the competition because they're going to be viewing these things as a negative. Price shoppers, they're such a waste of time, blah, blah, blah. And it's amazing how outdated some of the thinking is. I see it with some of our Right Chat clients. I see it with some of the MPG clientele when they first come aboard, or at least in the sales process. We hear, gosh, we get these patients coming in here and, they're just looking for the cheapest price, blah, blah, blah. The reality is guess what? That doesn't make them a bad patient. That makes them a consumer. And that's what consumers are supposed to do whenever they're about to drop $5, $6, $7 grand. They should be shopping. You've shopped before, maybe not for orthodontics, but you've shopped to get the best deal. All right. And they're not looking for the cheapest price. They're looking for somebody to give them enough value on the front end before they purchase in order to convince them enough that you're the place to be. Now, they want a good deal. But the reality is it's your job to convince them why they should spend with you instead of the other 5 practices they're searching around for. That is the environment that you live in the healthcare world now, especially in the orthodontic world. Dental practices out there trying to search for a new patient that stays with them and calls them their dental family. The more and more choices that happen, the more and more commoditization that happens, the more and more shoppers you get, which means organically, the more and more you have to make sure you run the business right, the team has sales skills, customer service skills, blah, 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 the digital marketing, right? Everything we talk about on here. But how all this relates to the consumer and the short attention span is that if you go, hey, look, all right, it's a short attention span now. What do I do to turn that into a positive? And that's what I want to talk about today. I want to first talk about the misconception, all right? I talk a lot about, we had this conversation on our mastermind this month, on the first Thursday of the month, my mastermind group meets. And, we get into some great conversations. The online chat forum's fun, but the conversations we have in these virtual happy hours, the clinical conversations, the business marketing conversations are really great. And one of the topics is how do you shrink the new patient consult from the normal hour, and how do you get that down? Now, the irresponsible out there that just go around throwing this information out, it drives me crazy, because here's what a lot of people are out there teaching, whether it be reps, because the reps will catch on, not all of them obviously, but they'll catch on to some hot topic, right? Like this Microsoft study and shortening the appointment and blah, blah, blah. And then they'll just try to jam it down the throat of everyone they help. And there's a lot of things that go into that in actually making a shorter appointment work. Because here is what the short appointment actually means, okay? And then I'm going to talk about how it means based on the type of practice you are. When I talk about a short appointment, or Microsoft does a study that I explained about the goldfish and the attention span, we do not mean go from an hour, get it to 30 minutes, and you're going to increase your same-day starts. That is not the message, all right? Now, that's what a lot of people teach, and that's what a lot of people who don't dive in deeper, they see a study or they hear the consumer attention span is short, so they go out and they start talking about it, thinking that all of a sudden it's going to help with conversion. And it absolutely does not, unless there's some things that you do along with it that we're going to talk about today. All right, so here's what we mean by shortening the appointment. What you want to do on the new patient consult, and this is how you take the short attention span of the consumer, and this is how you use it to your advantage, is you remove as much of the things in the new patient consult that they do not see value in and have no interest in. The more you reduce it and the more you shrink those particular things, that is how you then increase your conversion. So it's not that you took an hour to 40 minutes or an hour to 50 minutes or an hour down to 20 minutes. It's not the shrinkage. It's what did you shrink? Now, if you shrink the hour appointment down to 40 minutes, and what you take out is the personal attention, the rapport, the know, like, trust factor, the, seeing mom get all excited because of how well you do with her kid and doctor makes the kid laugh. If you take that stuff out, it's a surefire way to lose. Those are the things that inevitably get the know, like, trust factor and get people to buy from you. Now, there's more to that story that I'm going to talk about. For a second, I want to talk about the two types of models and demographics and how this applies, because it's very, very important to understand. Okay, so refresh really quick. Short consumer attention span. On the surface, okay, let's shorten the appointment, we win. And it's absolutely not the case. Shorten the things that the consumer doesn't like, doesn't see value in. You shorten those things, then you win. Okay, now let's talk about a couple different models. And I'm going to use a couple clients that we have as an example. All right, Ella Osborne. Hi, how you doing? I'm going to use you as an example here. Ella Osborne is an orthodontist in Seaport, so basically Boston. Really nice area. It's a neat town. All right, downtown's beautiful. The Departed, if you remember that movie, it's actually where it was shot. All right, really nice restaurants. It's just a nice area. All right. She has a ton of millennials, single people, not yet married, no kids, business people, they're still going out at night, doesn't do a lot of kids, families aren't coming in there. It's a 25, 30, 35-year-old single person. Not everybody, but that's the majority of that clientele, right? So that's who's coming in. A lot of those type of patients are the Smile Direct Club type of patients. And just to throw in a note here, the SDC patients are not bad patients. I'm going to repeat this. The SDC patients are not bad patients. Now, they're uneducated patients because the orthodontic profession for years has never been in a position where they had to produce content in your community. So your practice in your community, if you had hundreds of videos for the past 10 years, optimized properly, to educate people on why they should choose your practice over an SDC as an example, then a lot of those SDC patients wouldn't be going there. They'd be coming to you if you knew how to set your business up right. So that was an off-topic little discussion because I hear it all the time. Oh, they're just bad patients. No, they're not. The problem is that you don't know how to educate properly and optimize it to where people, when they do Smile Direct Club searches or Invisalign searches, you've got to come up with relative content to their search with videos that explain to them the difference between choosing a doctor. The doctor you choose matters, which is going to be an upcoming podcast, by the way, because there's two experiences you're selling. It's the doctor you choose matters, and then the non-clinical experience as well. The non-clinical experience ultimately is why they buy, because that's what they most can relate to. But back to these business models. So you have Elliot Osborne's practice that very much benefits from the shrinking of a new patient consult. Why? It's because of their type of clientele. So the 35-minute consult, the 30-minute consult wins in a practice like that. Why? Because of the clientele. If Ella Osborne had a Bob Skopak clientele, okay, hey buddy, so I'm going to talk about you for a second. She loses miserably if she takes that same approach in his practice. Why? He's in the suburbs, has a ton of kids, mom coming in with little Joey. All right? So if you take the same approach with both of them, you're screwed. And that is whoever is helping you, whoever you seek advice from, you cannot go and just listen to this one way across the board works approach. It is one of the big reasons our new patient group clients succeed at a very high level is, yes, are there foundational principles that work across the board? Absolutely. No doubt about it. Regardless of what type of business you are, those principles work. And then you have foundational principles that work, but they have to be customized properly into the type of business you're working with. And then you have principles that absolutely do not work at all unless it's what that business is trying to accomplish. So the other night, this is one of the reasons why I wanted to do the podcast. The other night on our mastermind group, and Skopak, you're the one that actually brought this up, is he's having a difficult time shrinking his appointment from an hour down to this 30, 40 minutes. And he's having a difficult time because in his mind, he's going, gosh, the families love that I spend time and joke around with them and build the rapport and blah, blah, blah. And I agree 1,000%. It would be completely irresponsible for us to go into that practice, his business, and say, look, you got to cut that out, dude. You got to cut it out, get in and out. That would not work for Bob Skopak. So here on the surface, you've got the consumer data that says, look, the quicker the better, right? The attention span. And we agree, and that's where I'm heading toward. I've talked about it a little bit. I'm heading towards it a little bit as kind of a final conclusion today. I agree, we agree as a company that there are certain things you need to tweak to make them more streamlined and efficient in order to get them to the financial presentation relatively as quickly as possible. Because the theory here is, and I'm going to tie all this together. The theory is that if you have a short attention span, and this is why in certain business models it works really well, and others it does not. If you have a short attention span, 30-year-old, 35-year-old, 25-year-old, on the go, comes from a generation of instant gratification. Gen Z, millennials, etc. If you are having an appointment that's an hour and 5 minutes, by the time you get to this is how much it's going to cost, and you try to get to the same day start, which you should be doing everything in your power as a practice to get a same day start. Everything should be set up to deliver that same day start. And when I say same day start, I mean same day financial commitment. Get their money and get them scheduled. That's what I mean by that. But you cannot apply this to every single type of practice. Because again, the theory, but the quicker you get to the money piece, the more focused they still are. Every minute that goes on, they're thinking about picking up their phone, Best Buy TV, a vehicle that they've been shopping for, work, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever. And then their mind drifts to out the door. And there goes your same day start. All right. But there's a way to take what I'm talking about, the short attention span, and apply it to both models. All right. And here it is. And I've referenced it briefly. So we've got short attention span Microsoft study. You've got to make sure you know what type of business model and what type of clientele you're trying to attract. That's the other piece with digital marketing. Look, you cannot be everything to everybody. Okay. An Ella Osborne practice is a great practice to target when people type in Smile Direct Club into Google, to have coded video content with like our YouTube marketing, to where they are coming up to discuss why you should choose that practice over a Smile Direct Club. Now, in those videos, you don't badmouth SDC, okay? You don't do that. It'd be like me doing a video about a consultant I think is not good and me just rip them to shreds. All it does is make me look like a buffoon. So you can't go out there and badmouth them. There's ways to do it, and there's ways we work with our clients to create that content to make sure it's not a badmouth situation. So it still puts you in a good light, okay? But the reality is that you've got to know your clientele, because when you're doing your digital marketing, when we're doing it for you, when another company's doing it for you, whoever's doing it is there's got to be content targeted around the people you're trying to attract. Okay, so a Bob Skopak is an example. It does him no good today to start doing the SDC content, because we're not trying to get him to come up for that. Why? It's because of his main targeted clientele. Ella Osborne, completely different story. So your job as a marketing company is not to send a bunch of new patients. A job as a marketing company is to send the right new patients based on what your business model is. Like if Bob Skopak all of a sudden got 50 new patient calls next month and all of them were SDC type patients, his practice tanks. Ella Osborne, on the other hand, her practice skyrockets, because everything internally is set up for that type of patient. Skopak, different story. And that's why I'm using them, because of the opposite ends of the spectrum. Now, that being said, a Bob Skopak can't be completely ignoring those patients, meaning that here's the other one, the virtual consult. This is a podcast on its own. Like, he's a practice that doesn't do very many of them. He offers it, but there's not a lot of people that choose it. They would choose the in-house. Why? Again, demographic, suburbs, families, mom and dad, kid coming in, right? Ella Osborne, different story. If she offers it properly, you get people pick it. Different type of demographic. But the beauty piece here is that you have to be a visionary as a CEO. Bob Skopak knows that in 5 years, the people that are picking the in-house, more and more are going to pick the virtual, because you're getting people that grew up in that era now become parents, or now become an age where they can buy themselves. So you can't go, nobody wants it, so we're not going to do it. No, you still have to have it as an option on the website. You've got to use your receptionist to offer it as the dual close, as a choice. And you've got to internal market that and do content around it to start building a brand. But it's not your main focus. Ella Osborne's the reverse. It should be her main focus. And that's where, from a business coaching standpoint, a marketing standpoint, you better darn well have clear direction from people that know what they're doing. Because just getting your phones to ring is not the job of a marketing company. Okay? Getting your phones to ring with the right people is the job of the marketing company. So the reality is, when you shorten your appointment, if that's your goal, you're thinking to yourself, I've been trying to take it from an hour to 40 minutes, which on that topic, this is a mistake I see entrepreneurs make all the time. I see it at events when I speak in front of clinicians, and then the question becomes, well, I can't do it. Is that don't take it from an hour all the way down to 35 or 40 minutes. Take it from an hour to 55 minutes. Make that your goal over the course of the next 6 weeks or 6 months, excuse me. Track it, pay attention to it. Use your weekly meeting that we teach to role play and work out problems. Because so many people, they hit a wall with a problem and they're just like, screw it, it's over, it didn't work. I see it all the time. No, it didn't work because you didn't stick to it, role play it, practice it, discuss it, fight through it, and then 6 months or a year from now, streamline it and have it work. That's why it didn't work. It wasn't the idea, it was the execution. So this theme of the shorter attention span is that you have to remove as many clinical things. Now, this is the part that works for both. So for Bob Skopak, getting it from an hour to 50 minutes is an example. In his model, we want to give him as much time as possible to build rapport and just shoot the bull with these people. Same with the TC, same with any other interaction of the team member, is that you take away as much of the clinical crap, I call it, because that's how the consumer views it, as you possibly can. You sitting in there in the doctor exam, calling out high-level clinical terms for 20 minutes, talking big terminology with the parents or the patient, taking x-rays or photos, there's more on this in just a second, is all a recipe in today's marketplace for people to go, let me think about it. Let me speak with my spouse, blah, blah, blah. Long story short, to not go, here's my money at their first appointment. Now, for Ella Osborne, it's the same way. Now, the training's a little bit different because her exam and the things and the interactions her team has, look, everybody wants to be treated right. Everyone wants to build rapport. No one's going to come in there and buy you if they don't like you. And that's the piece, whether it's a Gen Z consumer or someone that's 99, and whether it's a t-shirt or whatever, if they don't like you, they are not going to buy. If they don't trust you, they are not going to buy. If they don't feel like they got to know you, they are not going to buy. Now, that's the case for an Ella Osborne model or a Bob Skopak model. Now, there's different, and it's the know, like, trust factor. It's a podcast in itself. We can't get into it today. That's a whole podcast and a whole video course is the know, like, trust. Every touch point you and your team have with people, they've got to get to know you, like you, trust you. But there's different ways to accomplish that based on what your business model is and the consumer that's standing in front of you. So the shorter appointment works, okay? But it works different based on your model. Bob Skopak goes out of business if he goes from an hour all the way down to 30 minutes. All right? Ella Osborne, like I was talking about, if we went from an hour to 30 minutes or 35 minutes, her conversion's going to go up. Totally different type of clientele. Our goal with the Bob Skopaks of the world, because we have a lot of those type of practices. We also have a lot of the Ella Osborne type of practices. Our goal is to generate more and more of those types of patients for each type of business model and wrap the experience around what we know closes those type of people at the highest level. And the thing that they all have in common is they don't care about the clinical stuff, everybody. That's what you got to get through your head. That's not what sells them. Do they want a great clinician? Absolutely. And yes, that needs to be a part of the why the doctor and team you choose matters theme that you have at your practice. From how you do your digital content to your website, to how your receptionist speaks, to how the people are greeted when they come through the door. That needs to have a theme. That's that A through Z that we teach. Clarify your message, align your team, grow your business. Photos, patients hate. It's uncomfortable. Remove them from your new patient experience. What do you take them for? Now, I know the answer, but think about that for a second. Why do you need them? If, there's an if, you have the iTero scanner. Scan them. That's all you need. I see it with aligned faculty. I see it with our clients all the time. Scan them. Take the photos out of the new patient experience, and you just saved yourself 10, 12 minutes right there. All right? It gives you more time. Then you have a choice based on your model. Then you can add back that 10 or 12 minutes in rapport building time with the doctor and the TC. Or you can just do what you normally do as far as rapport building time. And then you're still at 10 or 12 minutes. You just went from an hour down to 50 minutes. Boom, there's your shorter consult. And you will win at a higher level. Now, just to clarify, I don't mean take the photos completely out of it. Meaning if the patient says, here's my money, and they get started, then you need to circle back and get the photos. So by no means am I mentioning photos don't matter, you don't need them. So let's get on the same page. But what was not removed was the rapport, the personal attention, that stuff. That you cannot remove, right? Same way with Anella Osborne. Again, that's important, but the way she's going to build it and the amount of time it takes to build it with her and her patients is going to be a shorter time, which is why her model can be a 30, 35-minute consult. And that's the unique difference. The x-ray machine. I know a lot of you out there that are clients. You're cool with using the iTero scanner, and that's it. You remove photos and x-rays until they say, here's my money. Once they see my money, you circle back around, you grab the photos and x-rays. Yes, does it every once in a while change the clinical diagnosis? Of course, but it's rare according to what clinicians tell me. So now, for those of you who are comfortable doing it, some people are not. Some people want the x-ray no matter what, and that's cool. I'm not the clinician. I'm not here to teach you that. But what I do know is that consumers don't like x-rays. I posted on something on LinkedIn the other day, got quite a good, it's like, I said, doctor says, yeah, my x-ray machine is fabulous. I love it. It's great. Consumer says, yes, I'm really wowed about your radiation. Like, that's the disconnect, right? The consumer doesn't care, nor you get them to care. Now, the digital scanner, different story. They care about that. They think that's cool. You should be having your receptionist edify like crazy that piece of it. That's a whole podcast in itself. Again, the power of the phones. And you should definitely scan every single new patient at every single new patient consult and use that outcome simulator to wrap around their identified wants and needs and how beautiful you can make it look. So if you're willing to take out the x-rays and the photos, now you're looking at 15 minutes plus, 1.5. Now, again, you go back to that extra 15 to 20 minutes you just gained, you can keep it eliminated off your appointment. So now you're about an hour down to 45 minutes or maybe even 40 minutes. So like a Bob Skopak is an example. But the rapport and the know-like trust and the amount of time you're spending on the non-clinical things hasn't changed. It hasn't changed. The other option you have is you can add maybe 7 minutes of the 15 or 20 you took off, add an additional 7 of rapport building, of getting them comfortable, the know, like, trust. Those are the things that cannot change. Now, they can't change for Ella Osborne either. But again, because the type business model she has, she doesn't need to spend as much time doing it as a Bob Skopak would. And that is why you have to define your vision. You got to define your business model. You have to know who you're trying to attract. And if you are attracting both types of patients, you better darn well have your experience designed in a way that's customized to the type of consumer that's walking through your door. And that's the lesson today. Look, yes, the consumer attention span, it's hurting conversion out there. It absolutely is. If you have an hour appointment and it's filled with clinical stuff, you're going to get killed in this new economy. Period. End of story. You may not even feel it today, but when you wake up 2 years from now, 3+, you're going to get hammered. It doesn't work anymore. But also it'd be irresponsible for me to say, just drop it down to 30 minutes. That doesn't work either. You've got to know which type of business model are you. Are you Ella Osborne's? Are you Bob Skopak's? Or are you a corporation out there? And that's a conversation in itself. But you have to know that, and then you've got to customize. You can't just have a rep walk in and say, you got to knock it down 20 minutes. There's all kinds of other things that go into it. And without a doubt, you cannot remove the know, like, trust factor, the rapport building. That is what gets people to go, here's my money right now. You cannot take that out, whether you're Ella Osborne or Bob Skopak's business model. And I want you to remember that no matter what you're taught in your life, from the time they search for you to the time they call you to the time they walk through the door and every other touch point, they better know, like, and trust you at that point of the process. You miss that, they walk. Or they don't call your dental family home forever. Or they don't start same day at your orthodontic practice. So critically important. So define your business model. Understand who you're trying to be. And then understand you do need to reduce the consult time. The data proves it. I see it with our own clients. The conversion goes up when the appointment is somewhat shorter. But that data depends on the type of practice it is. Okay? Shorten your appointment. Remove photos and implement the iTero scanner in place of it. If you're a clinician that's comfortable with doing the x-rays after you get the money, which a lot are, because rarely does it change. When it does, it's a simple discussion with the patient. You just tweak the treatment plan. So if you are comfortable with it or you're not, if you are, take even more time off the appointment. But let's agree to not take the photos at the new patient consult anymore. Replace that with the iTero scanner. Boom, you just saved yourself 8, 10, 12 minutes right there. And then make the decision. Do I use that additional time now to have fun? Shoot the bull with the patient? Get them to just like me so much that now they can't say no? Or do I just do what I'm doing and leave off that additional time and boom, you shrunk it? I'm a fan of leaving it off. As long as you're a practice that already, like a Bob Skopak, spends so much significant time having fun talking, there's probably not a need to go the extra mile because you've already done it. So save yourself the 10 plus minutes. If you're a practice that doesn't do that and it's something you're about to implement, add the time on to shoot the bull. Build the rapport. If you're an Ella Osborne model, I would keep that time knocked off because of the clientele you get. So it's crazy times, competition, all this stuff, but it represents such a unique opportunity to really crush the competition who's just not going to look at these things this way. They're not going to go, let me analyze my business model, customize the experience based on the consumer I'm targeting that's walking through the door. It's not going to happen. But if you're that person, it's why internal and digital marketing are so powerful. It's all you need. You don't need anything else. As long as you have that cohesive message from A through Z, from how you shoot your content to how the receptionist speaks and every other touch point. Understand the data. Make your decisions based on the data, but also make your decisions and understand your model. I see this, clinician stands on stage and he's a successful practice and he's teaching his way of doing it. Doctors are taking notes and then they go and try to implement it with no regard to the fact that maybe that person's business model is completely different than what they're trying to run. If Ella Osborne stands on stage and she's like, yeah, this is how I'm growing and this is how the successful and blah, 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 blah. And a Bob Skopak's in the audience taking notes and he goes and tries to do it, he's done. He's not going to grow, he's going to decline, and vice versa. But there are the same foundational principles that I'm talking about that work in both of them. It's just customizing those to the demographic you're seeing. So conclusion, short attention span, use it to your advantage. Remove the photos from the new patient consult. Remove the photos from the new patient consult. Implement the iTero scanner on every single new patient because you're going to have to if you're not taking photos. If you're a clinician that's okay with not doing x-rays until they say, here's my money, do it that way. If not, no big deal. Do the x-rays. You still took off 10 minutes. And then make the decision, are we building enough rapport with these people? And if you're not, use that 10 minutes you saved to build rapport. Shoot the bull. No like trust factor. Have some fun. All right? You do that, you win. You do that, you win. But you've got to understand your business model and how to wrap it around this data in this crazy healthcare landscape that we're doing, all right? I hope everyone's doing great out there. Thanks for listening today. We're wrapping up. Year's coming to a close. It's been the fastest year. I actually think this has been the fastest year of my life. It's really weird. I was talking to my wife about it the other day. I don't know why. You would think it somewhat went by slow because of all the months of just being home when I'm used to traveling, but it's crazy times. I hope everyone's doing okay out there during this COVID situation. Apply this to your practice starting right away. See what it does for you. And if you need that white glove service, the personal attention, or you need a course, an on-demand course that'll help you, reach out to us. And, the beauty of us is that, we're a tax break because you can 1099 us. So we're basically 100% write-off in that regard. So you're either going to pay it to the IRS, I tell people, or you're going to invest it in people that are passionate about growing your business. So reach out, give New Patient Group a call, and tell them you listen to the podcast when you call the 800 number, and they'll put you in touch with me. I'm happy to talk with you and walk you through the process. Shout out to the New Patient Group clients. I love all of you. You're doing great. Right Chat clients as well. Close-knit family, and I think all of you are rocking and rolling. And so I appreciate your continued support and your partnership. And we'll have a few more podcasts before the season ends. We'll wrap it up probably the end of November. And then we'll kick it off in January with season 4. And to all of you, all the podcast listeners, MPG and Right Chat family, thanks so much for listening. Talk to you everybody soon. Bye-bye.